Hey guys, Drifter here. Today I have a video for you called Person versus Persona. This is obviously going to be a very personal video, no pun intended. Going to be talking about myself a little bit and then expand the topic broader to give you some life advice. The gameplay that you're seeing right now is me using the fantastically fun, that's another alliteration, what am I doing today? M1 Irons pistol. I have a blast with it. I do really good in some segments, kind of dumpy in some others. Overall the gameplay is probably pretty average, but it's what I call honest gameplay. This is how I really play the game when I'm playing on my own, when I'm kind of doing my own thing. It's not always the best, not always the most impressive, but it's really, really real, which leads us to the subject of today's commentary. Are you a person, or do you play as your persona? A person, as we will define it for the purposes of this commentary, is who you really are, who you are deep down inside your inner self, that person that everybody tells you should be, etc., etc., or a persona, which the original use of this was kind of like an acting term. It was a character that you would play, or the mask, the persona that you would put on. The role that you play is it become. And I kind of got this idea from a fan. We were talking about a lot of different stuff, and it relates to, I get asked all the time, hey, what is X like in person? Because I go to events, I meet a lot of pro players in Call of Duty and in other sports, YouTubers, streamers, occasionally some real celebrities, which is like mind-blowing to me that I'm even in the same space. And like, what's so-and-so like in person? And I'm gonna keep it mostly YouTube and Twitch related, but like 99% of the time, they're usually exactly the same as they are on YouTube and Twitch, with very, very few differences. Obviously, some things are different. Some people struggle in public. Some people have slight hand mannerisms that you don't get to see on camera, or they have a smell or something like that. That's not a gamer joke, by the way. But they're usually about the same. Most of the people that you see here on YouTube are as they appear to be. There are a few exceptions to this rule. Some people view what they do on YouTube or Twitch or whatever in gaming space, or acting is a little different, as a business. They're here to entertain or to provide information or to play well or whatever, and they'll pretend to be a character that's different than they really are, and they view that not as a type of dishonesty, but as a type of pure entertainment, and not intending to be malicious toward any of you. But of course, that's the exception. Most of them are who they appear to be. There's another fine line of distinction you can make in this, who you are versus who you appear to be. It's who you are, who you appear to be, and how you see yourself. That's a very different thing. Some people are truly terrible people, but they think they're really good, or the other way around, they think they're bad or not good enough, and they're actually a fantastic person, and then that's how they perceive themselves. There's a way that they act, and how others perceive them, and a way that they really are on the inside. It can actually get very, very confusing with this, but I'm going to move forward and make a little bit more sense of it in a minute. I've had some mixed dealings recently with people that see me on YouTube in this kind of place, and how they perceive me as a person, and different scenarios, different places, times, the way things worked out. I've had people say, you're exactly the way you are on YouTube, you're how I expected you, blah, blah, blah. And then I've had people say, oh my god, you're a terrible person, I can't believe you're this and that, and that like, this is astonishing how nice you are on YouTube and what a dick you are in real life. And it's mostly situational, but it's also perceptual. Like, I am not exactly in real life as I appear to be here on YouTube. Surprise, surprise. There are, I would like to think, small differences. I try to be a person here and not a persona. In real life, I'm not always as articulate as I am here. I practice this. I think about this before I say it. I use ums and ahs, and I struggle a lot more. I do fart a lot. That's just kind of a personal flaw. Not necessarily always as calm as I am on here, and I curse pretty frequently. You very rarely hear curse words on the channel, basically because it's bad for advertising revenue, and I know that it's an intellectual shortcut, so I try not to do it, especially when I have time to practice. But in real life, curse words are some of my favorite words, and I use them far more frequently than I should. The same kind of thing can be said for many of you, even though you're not necessarily working in the entertainment space, or working for that matter at all. A lot of people, you perhaps, have ended up in a job or a role that requires you to be a certain type of persona, and you might not be that person. Imagine, for instance, that you're a surgeon. Surgeons are viewed kind of like Robert Downey Jr. and Iron Man. They're cocky, they're cold as ice, they're precise, calculating, very energetic, something like that. Or perhaps you work in management somewhere where it's your job to hire and fire people. Are you a bad person? Are you cold as ice? No, you might be a very warm, well-intentioned individual, but the job that you have requires you to do that. Or a drill instructor. You have to be hard as nails. You have to be mean to people. Even if you're a big, ugly teddy bear, when you go home, when you walk out into the world, your persona of the drill instructor is there, and that's what you have to do, and that's what you have to be. it's not even a job-related thing. Sometimes it can show up in family dynamics. Sometimes it can be people encourage you or react to you differently depending on how you act. Or there can be 3 positive people and somebody has to be the negative one. Somebody has to be the idea killer just for practical reasons, and it doesn't mean that they're pessimistic or negative, but just that they're required to be that thing. A lot of different ways in this world we can stumble into a persona and stop being the person that we are. And another core concept of this is how you view yourself. You have how you truly are deep down inside, whether it's hidden or not, what you do, how you act with people because you're forced to or have to, and then how you see yourself. So like again, some people think they're awesome, some people see themselves as a hero or a sensitive or a poet or a writer, a hater, anything, and they're not really that thing, and they're just kind of projecting outward some of the things that come back inward on them. And I know it's sounding like psychobabble here, but people have very different ideas about who they are versus who they really are as judged by others. The inner self is often hidden or put away, and no, that's not a gay joke. As you can imagine, this causes a lot of frustrations. A lot of people get kind of amped up or touchy or angry or pushy because they feel that they're being treated unjustly, because they feel that they're not being respected or that they're improperly understood or that their motivations are not out there. That's a big one in real life, is that you as a person, and I do this too, everybody does this, it's how we think, we judge others solely by their actions where we judge ourselves by our motivations. And all of our motivations typically are good or understandable or they make sense up here. Out in the real world, that's not exactly how it pans out. So you'll be viewed differently than how you expect to be viewed or reacted, and this causes a ton of frustrations. That can be immensely frustrating or angry, and it can also be sad, depressing, or a variety of negative emotions if you sort of play a persona that's the exact opposite of who you are and if you hide yourself. And my experience in life has been that the most truly happy people, the people that are the most satisfied with what they're doing, is when the person and the persona line up, where the inner self can do something that they like in this world, or they're in a dynamic where they can be themselves. And it sounds really lame, like be yourself or whatever, but it's kind of like if you're an artistic person and you're stuck doing accounting, you can do that, you can learn to do that, you can play that role, but you probably won't be very happy at it. You'd probably rather be doing art. Or there are some people, which believe it or not, in the exact opposite sense, they can be raised by, we'll say, alternative parents that encourage them to explore themselves and do this and do that and be one with nature and be an artist and a poet. What they really want to do is they want to be an accountant, or they want to be a race car driver, or go, in the military or something completely the opposite of that sort of spectrum. That's who they really are, but they're put in an environment that's different. So one of the ways to be really happy, to really improve your situation, is to put yourself where the person and the persona can be exactly the same, where you don't have to play a role every day, where you can do what you want and be who you are freely, safely, and happily. And that's just my little bit of advice to you. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something useful. If you did, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. Drifter out.